Can you hear me now? All right, I'm here. How are you guys doing? I hope everybody is doing very well. Hello, lovely people. As AK Rock says, welcome, fine people of this earth. I don't know why he talks like he's, from outer space or anything, but he's smart enough to have gotten here from outer space. So, I have a couple of things I want to say about the Kohberger case, specifically Bethany Funky or Funk, or I don't know how people pronounce the name. First of all, let me say this. There's an awful lot happening in the Kohberger case. This is definitely a curious case because the division is so great between the number of people that believe that something terrible really happened as compared to, nope, you got the wrong guy. So Kohberger either did it or he did not do it. I don't think I am broadcasting. Weird. Why is it not doing? Hold on. I don't think I'm. Lordy, I should restart this because I sound like somebody else that I don't particularly admire. Let's do. All right, let's see. Am I live? I don't think I'm live. I think I'm talking and no one is listening. Where am I? Okay. I, in fact, am not here. Let me try another way. Let me go look at something else. YouTube Studio. Content. Live. It says it's private. It says it's private and won't let me change it. Why won't it let me change it? Oh, I think it just let me change it. I think that fixed it. Let's see if that fixed it. God, I hate when this happens. I hate when this happens. I think it's working. Oh, I think it's working now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know why it did that, but I'm here now. So sorry about that. So I don't even know where to start over. Welcome. Great to see you. I apologize. Jennifer, I can't say it. I can't make myself say it.
It's working now, Jennifer. Thank you. It wasn't. I was just up here and I was talking and I was just going on and I was talking and no one was listening. So thank you. I appreciate it so much. Wow, that was terrible. I'm gonna have to go back and edit and cut out all the, all the what's happening here? Why isn't this working? Because I look like a airhead. So apologize for that. And I messed up this too. So anyway, I'm going to talk about Brian Kohberger's case today. Specifically, I want to talk about Bethany Funky. Won't you take me to Funky Town? Remember that old song? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so Bethany Funk. I want to talk a little bit about this, and it's my narcissistic need to do this. I've been battling this because I don't like to give in to that kind of pressure, that icky, feeling. People perfectly fine for people to disagree with me, right? Like, I like it. It's good. It's a good thing to disagree because, otherwise you live in a just a cacophony of you're right. It's just an echo chamber. And that's not fun. So I do like conversation. I do like disagreement. I don't like arguing and fighting, but I like persuasion. I want people to be able to say, I disagree with you because yada, 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 yada. And then for me to be able to say, oh, well, I can certainly understand. Is there something wrong with your jaw when you talk? Troll. There's a troll. And you know what you're doing, Mr. Troll Man? You're just giving me views and you're giving my channel high discussion rate. So keep it up because it's all you're doing is helping me. Welcome, Zelda, my friend. Allegedly, Brittany, you're the culprit, girl. I'm totally doing this because of Brittany. No, not because of Brittany. Because there's somebody on her channel. Oh, is Jennifer Honeyhole your bestie? I laughed so hard when I saw her name, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. Okay, so I'm going to put a link up here if Brittany wants to come up on panel. I don't want to put you on the spot, Brittany. You don't have to, but I'm definitely calling you out because you're part of the reason why I'm doing this. Brittany's going, no, don't involve me in any drama. Okay, so no drama. So I've been fighting this, and I started to play the clip off of Brittany's channel, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to address it and just speak. Hey, Jeff H., how are you doing? Thank you so much. You are a sweetheart. Quinny, my friend, how are you? Hey, Jesus loves me. Okay, so the other night, last week sometime, I went into Brittany's channel and I was just chatting along with the other, chatters. And she had a bunch of people up on the panel and they were all talking. They were talking about the Brian Kohberger case. Specifically, they're talking about Bethany and Dylan and that kind of thing. And I made a comment. I typed a comment in. My thoughts on how do I rationalize, or maybe not rationalize, how do I explain this failure to call 911 as you're lying in a house with 4 dead people who have created a great deal of, I don't know how to say this. You would have noticed upon awakening you would have noticed an unusual odor in the house. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to go into depth, but it would have been significant. You would have recognized something dramatic had happened, something very different. Something was happening in the house that was really, really different, right? And so the fact that it took so long for them to call and make the phone call to the police, that has been, for the group of people that really question whether Kohberger did this across the board or whether he did it and there were other people also. So whatever the group is that you're talking to, they have a little bit of different view on this, but overwhelmingly, people feel, I think it's safe to say, that people don't particularly think that the cops have done a really fine job in this situation, that there's some questionable silences on certain points or explanations that are just fall kind of, empty. One of those is this problem with the phone call. All right. That's just one of them. There's many in the case, but one is the phone call. And there's a lot of confusion about that morning. You got the open door. Like, why is the open door there? Oh, we got bad storm going on out here. The phone call, the open door that another student claimed to have seen as they went by the house that morning. You've got Kohberger returning to the area 9 a.m. or so. So there's something curious about that moment. There's no question. Can we, okay, I'm just going to say it and I'm going to make people mad, and I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. It doesn't seem like the girls told the truth, right? If for nothing more than the morning, from the time that they woke up until the time that 911 was called, if there was nothing else, we know they didn't tell the truth. The circumstances that have been described are they're just illogical. They just don't seem real. So that was sort of part of the conversation that was happening that night in Brittany's channel. And I had typed something and kind of put in that, in my thoughts, what I thought might be an alternate explanation for why would these girls lie? Like, Anne says that Bethany doesn't say she does have, says she might have some different information that could help Kohberger. It doesn't say she does. It's just, well, what if she does, right? And so everybody was like divided. They were like, no, it's perfectly plausible that they stayed in the house for 8 hours with bodies not alive. They did not. There's no way, unless they were both down in the bottom level and the door was open. What? So if the door was open in the bottom level, then there would have been fresh air coming into the house. And then you have to ask yourself, well, so what are they doing? Like, they're not like, well, I'll just sleep down here, and then tomorrow when we wake up, we'll come up with a plan on what to do with our 4 dead friends. That didn't happen either. So there's a lot of question there about what were they doing? This story, as told, is simply not realistic. And that was the topic of this conversation in allegedly with Brittany's channel. So Brittany put up my comment, which was just me thinking, going, well, what if it could be explained by this, right? And the girl that was up on channel, and I don't remember who it was, so don't ask. The girl was up on channel, she was like, well, that's just dumb. That's just a dumb statement. I was the one that made the dumb statement. And I felt really bad. Brittany was really sweet about it and everything. But first of all, I thought, wow, that was a really passionate disagreement. But then secondly, it's fine. But then I thought, maybe this is something that is worth talking about. Maybe it's not so dumb maybe we're thinking about this the wrong way, because, what I do, I teach about cognitive distortions all day and how to fix them, like how to change and not use cognitive distortions, because cognitive distortions are at the heart of, anxiety and depression and mood disorders. And when we learn to view the world and to interpret our own actions in a fact-based, realistic manner, then we get healthier. We lose all of our anxious distress and depression. So this black or white thinking, which is a type of cognitive distortion. So this black and white thinking that, okay, it either has to be that Bethany and Dylan lied or they didn't lie. Like, it has to be one or the other. Either they killed her or killed the four. They had something to do with the four being killed, or they're 100% innocent and just completely unaware of their surroundings. But there's stuff in between, right? There's a lot of opportunity in between. It doesn't have to be they were in on it or not. If they lied, that means they were in on it. If they didn't lie, that means they're just, out of touch, on drugs, whatever. There's other things there. And I think that the other possibilities are apparent. And one specific one that I thought of, not that this is what it is, not that this is the be all end all and this is how it is. This was one possibility, right? You know me, I love wild speculation, but in this case, how wild is it really? Maybe it's just realistically, without any kind of moral, judgment. Let's just talk about the reality, right? So these girls claim they didn't really hear much. Dylan has a couple of things that she claimed that she heard the dog barking, thought Kaylee was playing with the dog, thought she heard somebody say, "I'm here to help you." Things, just little small things like that. But overwhelmingly, we just didn't get anything really from Bethany. And the whole story all by itself defies explanation. It just makes zero sense. So that led me to this next place of thinking, okay, well, they lied. Or in the case of Bethany, Dylan is a different problem, I think. But just Bethany. I think Bethany lied. I think it's hard to believe otherwise, that what she said to the cops could not have been true. And then the fact that she's been whisked away across state lines and has been heavily protected, as I would do my own child, no judgment there. I would go to the ends of the earth to protect my kid. But then you have to ask yourself, well, why would she lie? And so that's where I got to. What are lies that could have realistically been told that now they can't come out and say, I lied, because then it makes it even look worse for them. And that's what led us to allegedly with Brittany's channel, with someone saying that's just dumb. So there we are. Oh, and the reason that they said that it was a dumb statement is because Bethany would surely tell the truth because it would be an alibi. All right. Now, all you ladies out there, I want you to transport yourself back 10, 20, 30 years, back into college, your freshman year. Let's be honest with ourselves and go back to your first couple of semesters at college, the fraternity parties and all the people to date and all the fun stuff, and no mom or dad around anywhere to see. Did you do things that you probably would not have talked about with your parents over Sunday dinner? Truth, right? So that's kind of where I am on this thing. I think that maybe Bethany, Dylan's separate. I wonder if Bethany got herself in trouble because she or Quinny says, nope, I was much smarter than these girls. Well, Quinny, me too, Quinny, me too. Okay. Brittany says, I'm here trying to get the boys situated. So, here's kind of what, let's see, Jeff says, given choice to describe what's heard upstairs as either playing with the dog or people wrestling or fighting, the fact she went with playing with the dog sounds like she didn't think it was that serious. Sure. Agree, Jeff. Yeah. Okay. So in my wild conspiratorial, speculative brain, I can kind of see this movie play out, right? I can see this movie screen in my head. And I'm wondering to myself, imagine, well, let's just say on one of your wild and crazy nights, college or otherwise, you go out, you have a good time, you may or may not meet someone, you may or may not, and then you may or may not go home to your apartment that night. Does that happen? Not in our group, definitely not our group, right? Okay. Of course it happens. Of course it happens. Whether young women want to admit it to other young women or not, it does happen. And sometimes you have girls afterwards that are freaking out because they're like, oh my God, what did I do? Oh my God. Oh my God. My mother's going to kill me. Right? You remember that whole thing? Or no, I don't want my friends to find out because then they're going to think I'm just, well, So many young women have had these experiences as young people. And can I just say, there's also been a lot of divorcees that have had this experience too. So I'm not just picking on the young women in the world, but realistically, I think anybody who wants to deal with reality instead of, it has to be either A or B, there's nothing in between. Realistically, yes, young women do absolutely go off to college and they do drink too much and they do meet some little haughty, good looking men or otherwise. And then, they go off for the night and then go home the next day, 6 a.m, noon, depending on, whether it's going to be, hey, I think I'd like to see you again or not. And then you walk in the door and then you're like, oh my God, I wonder if anybody knows. I wonder if my mom knows. I wonder my dad, I wonder my friends know. Oh my God. And then there's this, reorientation back to your area. You're now out of the strange person's house and you're back in your own house. And in my mind, I kind of see that happening with Bethany. I kind of see maybe things there was a wild and crazy party. She had a good time. She met someone and then maybe didn't go home until in the morning, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Correct. And when she walks in the door, if the front door is open, she may drive up and just think, hey, somebody's already up. Somebody's coming in and out of the house. Someone, the door's wide open. Then she goes into her room, does whatever, and then the nightmare begins, right? So we also the walk. See, Quinny, damn it, Quinny, I knew I wasn't the only one. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Quinny says the walk of shame. Yeah, absolutely. The walk of shame. Okay. If I did anything my parents found out before I got home, I stayed out of trouble that way. There you go. That helicopter parents keep a lot of young girls safe. Absolutely true. But then we all watched Sex in the City. It became a rite of passage, right? So, let's deal with reality here. So I can kind of see Bethany being brought home mid-morning or whatever. She gets out of the car, walks up, the door's open. When she walks in, maybe she realizes, hey, there's something crazy, there's something amiss here. But that would explain how it was that at least Bethany, not Dylan, but at least Bethany, that would explain this large period of time, this horrendous, violent 4 homicides in, what was it, 12 minutes? And no one heard. That would explain a lot, right? So, oh, hi, Sherry Cartwright. Welcome. Good to see you here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Stephen from Philadelphia. The roommates were texting during the time of the crimes and after. Lynn, yeah, I'd heard that. Do we know? They haven't released the text, correct? We don't know what they were saying in the text. So my point in talking about this is that there are other reasons that people will lie, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an admission of guilt. That just because they lied, there could have been other reasons for the lie, correct? One of them being, powerfully, some young women absolutely would, cut their tongue out of their face before they would admit to their moms or dads that they were doing that kind of behavior, that they just would not be able to disrupt the image that their parent has of them, correct? So that would explain something. Now, I don't think it explains Dylan. I think for me, there's a couple of red flags with Dylan, more than a couple, but I think some of the big ones are, some of her friends were a little, had several pretty major brushes with the law. And we know that the, best predictor of future behavior is past performance. So, that was one of my complaints in the Charlie Adelson case. Jeffrey Lacoste said, oh, Charlie's a conduct disordered kid, and he's an antisocial personality, and he's a psychopath, and he's a narcissist. I mean, Jeff Lacoste gave him every diagnosis in the book. Jeff, are you licensed? Do you have an ethics board? Whereas when you talk to people that actually know Charlie Adelson, he was never conduct disordered. He never got in trouble. He was always compliant, always made good grades. People said he was very likable, that he'd give you the shirt off his back, even when he was in junior high school, college. He wasn't particularly motivated by narcissistic supply. He didn't fight to have the top grades in the class. So there's really absolutely nothing to show that this guy would ever be capable of paying someone to kill someone that he knew. It's very strange. And he had no motive. So it was a very strange, case. But anyway, I don't really know much about Bethany other than I think that her dad might not have been very approving of her having a midnight tryst. I think that is for certain. I think with Dylan, I think there's some history there with some legal issues. So I don't know. Jeff says I need to take all of Steve G's interviews, put them into Adobe, and have them transcribed so that every word he says is searchable. I think that would be a really great investment in time, Jeff. Wouldn't it be interesting? Be very interesting. Steve said in an interview that Kaylee would have returned anyone's text, but she did not text Dylan back. Lynn, that is, I don't know. So the video where they're at the food truck, there is a there is a moment where, and you got Brittany and Jeff, they all know the names of all these extraneous kids. I don't know their names, but y'all probably do, so I apologize for that. Um, but the part where the girl comes up and gives Kaylee a hug, she's got long dark hair, real pretty girl. She comes up, gives Kaylee a hug, but other girls come up at the same time and they just bypass Kaylee. They don't make eye contact at all, and they go over and stand in line. If you go back and you watch that really closely, Kaylee is looking at those girls. There's undertones. There's a problem there between Kaylee and those sorority girls. Those of you that are deep into this whole Kohberger case, do y'all know what I'm talking? If you know what I'm talking about, put a one. If you've seen the kind of Kaylee looking at them like she's wary of them, or maybe a little angry. No, I don't think it's anger. Where she seems wary. She seems like she's looking to see what they're up to, right? Um, Funny story, Sherry. I mean, I get what you're asking if Dylan or Bethany was into escorting. That has become a problem in college. Lynn says, yes, I believe because she left the sorority, she was likely cut off entirely. In the neighborhood of the walk of shame stuff, what if Dylan and Bethany are involved with each other and they were involved during the crimes, but then they agreed that it was not to be discussed? Maybe. Is there any discussion of Bethany having a boyfriend? Or I know about Dylan's boyfriend. Anybody wants to come up and educate me on the names and what we're talking about, I would be happy to have you up. Is there talk about Bethany having a boyfriend? It looks like everything's stopped. Bethany is currently engaged. Thank you very much, Lynn. Okay. I think Bethany's engaged. Okay. Thank you, Angela. All right. So Bethany's engaged, and we know Dylan had a boyfriend. And so, the point of, I seem to really love YouTube channels that have the word allegedly. It popped up out of nowhere. Lots of people started getting allegedly this and allegedly that. Dylan's boyfriend's name was Quinn. Yeah, so I know about Dylan's boyfriend. Oh no, I don't think so. Moonlight View. I don't know. No. So I just want to be very clear that the reason that this conversation came up is that I was trying to, because admittedly, I don't believe the story. I don't believe that it was possible to stay in that house as long as they did and not be aware that something bad had happened. And most law enforcement, any search and rescue people, most people will tell you that within 8-10 hours, that there's a mammal, a dead mammal there. There's it. And in a house that would be locked up tight, it would be unbearable. So I don't believe the story just from the scientific fact that you would be capable to be there that long, even on multiple levels. The emanating smell would be there. So I don't buy. I really don't put a lot of. I'm not one of those people that believes that there was drugs and they're cleaning the house up of drugs. And that is, I don't believe that, because I really think you have to appreciate the amount. This hard conversation to have without getting into gory details. I don't ever talk about the gory details on my channel. Um, there would have been a great amount of biological organic matter, a great deal. And it would have been impossible to clean around it without spreading it all over. No, they were not cleaning up. That was not happening. So, so I think that there was a lie. I do believe that. I think that we should not ignore the open door. I think we can't ignore that Brian Kohberger's car came back into that area. But I mean, what if Bethany was with Kohberger? I know this is the one speculation channel. I'm owning it. This is completely just what if. What if that's why he came back, was not to retrieve the gun, the sheath, but just to drop her off? How would a young lady manage that? How would you, if you're hiding from your parents that you went out and partied and you went home with somebody that you met? You're definitely not going to admit that to them straight up. And then you go home because you're being protected, because you're well loved by your family. And then the guy that you were actually with that night ends up getting arrested. How do you do that? How would a young girl, thinking back to when you were 18 years old, how would you manage that? Because already online, people were saying, before Kohberger was ever arrested, people were saying that they believed that Dylan and Bethany had to have been involved. There were some people that went so far as to say that they did the killing. So they're already terrified that, the peasants with pitchforks are coming for them. So they're already afraid of that happening. And then you find out, oh my God, the guy that I went home with that night got arrested. Oh my God, this is terrifying. So I'm not saying that did happen. I'm saying that if you sit down and you brainstorm all the different reasons that a 18, 19-year-old girl in those circumstances could lie, what are they? Maybe she went home and spent the night with someone else because she was partying. Maybe she got tore down, drunk, and was just basically literally passed out and not really, responding to environmental stimuli. Maybe that is what happened. BK's lawyer did state he wanted to meet with Bethany in person. Of course, that request was not granted. Who does Judge look like? He looks like Jerry Springer. But I do like him very much. The judge, not Jerry Springer. I do like the judge very much. But he looks uncannily like Jerry Springer. It's crazy to me. Yeah. So explain that. So explain why Ann Taylor, why is she saying that Brian is saying, Bethany, that one, sure would like to talk to her, just like 10 minutes alone, please. What does that say to you? It kind of suggests that there may be a personal interaction, right? So I've thought about this, and I cannot shake the feeling that there was an initial lie, and it was that very understandable young girl trying to retain her image that her parents have of her, right? That it becomes Well, my God, no, I can't tell my parents I got drunk and spent the night with a guy. Of course, I can't tell my parents that. Why do I have to? I don't have to. It doesn't matter. All I got to do is tell them I was here. And then after I listened for a while, oh, yeah, I did. I saw a naked guy run away. Well, Dylan didn't see a naked guy. So are we going to believe there's two people running around slashing people in the middle of the night? Or is it more likely that there's a young girl scared trying to wiggle her way out of, having the scarlet letter tattooed to her chest, right? That is true. However, it was stated intimate details that only Bethany can disclose. So you might have a very good point. Intimate details that only Bethany can disclose. Like what, Miss Lily? I love your name. I have always wanted to know why they had crime scene tape across Bethany's bedroom window. Hey, Hoppy, welcome, my friend. Police were taking pictures of Bethany's bedroom window. Perhaps they met on Tinder. They may have met on Tinder, but isn't it true? Yvette, hi, so good to see you. Hey, maybe, but remember, isn't it true that Kohberger at least was following Maddie on social media? Ethan and others were home by 2 and they were asleep by 4. How would she know? She did say that. She had to be awake or was awakened to know that. But she was texting with Dylan, right? And there's a couple other things that go even further in terms of like wild speculation. One is the security video that we watched ad nauseum. You can clearly see a tall, lean guy in the snow walking. That is beyond contestation. The other thing that we know happened at around the same time as this horrific murder is somebody gets in the truck and leaves at the same time. And it does appear there arguably people disagree with me on this, okay? I get it. But I think it's a great possibility that someone was sitting in that truck waiting and the other person came and got in the back seat. I've already put the video out. I've already shown why I believe that. I think Jeff H put out some video contradicting that. So it was such terrible, graphics. It's dark and I think the progression of movement, I think somebody was in the car waiting. So you can hear people talking, and it does look like Jack D comes up and goes into the apartment. That is there. All of this happened about the same time. This is a crazy case. It's a crazy case. And the more that people learn the facts of it, the crazier it becomes, in all fairness. My point, Miss Lily, as soon as I can stop, sorry, voice texting and listening. That's okay, Miss Lily. It appears BK's social accounts were fakes created after his arrest. NBC made a retraction during their documentary. Zelda says the phrase scared the poop out of me is true. Maybe the victims lost whatever they were. The smoke. Okay. Okay. So I think that for me, I'm only speaking for me. I'm not saying that anyone else has to think the way I think or believe what I believe. This is my thoughts only. Okay. I think that yes, it is an unbelievable timeline, that it is very difficult to believe that what Bethany says happened that morning is very hard for me to acknowledge. It is also easier for me to acknowledge that perhaps Dylan was there. Maybe she was under the influence of something that made it possible for her to just get knocked out, fall asleep, and not really be awakened for 4 or 6 hours later. I do think that is realistic with certain types of drugs. So yes, but I think with Bethany is quite a bit different. And I think that when you consider the unusual nature that of these communications about Bethany, that Kohberger is asking to speak to her front and center, that is very strange. It doesn't mean that Bethany is a murderer. It doesn't mean that she had any knowledge about what was going to happen. It doesn't mean she even knew about what happened after it happened. It simply means it's weird that he asked to talk to her. That's all it means. It's just strange. And the curiosity ought to be, why does he need to, or not need to, but why is he showing interest in talking to her? That's a far more interesting question than this hard line. She's an angel. Don't accuse her of murder. That's one side. And then the other side is, she did it. She was in on it. She held the knife sheath. There's a lot more possibility than the two extremes that we tend toward, I think, naturally. I think there's a lot more in between that is probably more likely to be, accurate. So I do think that she probably lied. And I think that she's being protected. And I think that it's understandable and absolutely forgivable. Bethany Funk, if you ever hear this, it is forgivable. It is understandable. It is normal that if you did what everybody else was doing, all the other young women meeting young men, doing birds and bees, and you kind of got caught because this nightmare happened to your friends, it's okay. But you have to find the courage to tell the truth. Because this idea that, that Dylan and Bethany were in the house for so many hours and didn't notice a thing, that can't be, it's not real. It is not real. And there's never, in fact, I would ask all of you to help me. Has there been an explanation or an accounting for the open door? Had they disregarded that now? Or do people still accept there was an open door? I think they said around 9 that morning. Interestingly, the same time as when Kohberger went back into the area. Weren't Bethany and Dylan at the grand jury trial as witnesses? No. No, they weren't. I don't believe we will ever find out what happened. Doesn't need to meet with DM, who allegedly saw him in person, but did ask to meet with Bethany. It is curious. All cell data will reveal wherever they were and who they were socializing and connected with, especially college students. Their phones are at their hip 24/7. Trial. Now, you said trial will show all digital evidence. Bella, this is going to be one trial that I may have to take time off from work. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to get the answers. You remember during the Stout, Gannon Stout's murder. Do you remember the shock you felt when we learned during the trial that Letitia had given him hydrocodone? You could have knocked me over with your little finger. I was in shock. That was the most horrifying. That was one of those moments in this whole adventure as a true crime creator. That moment, listening to that testimony and finding out that she had given that baby hydrocodone, to me, it was just the epitome of evil, right? Like we we were careful about talking about evil, the biblical implications of that term evil, and all that. We're careful about it. But every now and then you run across something. How else do you explain it? What she did to that little boy is unthinkable. The number of different times and different ways that she hurt him, ended his life. It's evil. I have the same feeling with Jodi Arias. Just evil, like so pointless. It was just so useless what she did. But boy, she was committed. She was all in, she had this elaborate scheme, and it was crazy. So yeah, there are some things that are just pretty evil. And I do think that this particular trial with Brian Kohberger, I think that's going to be another one of those moments in true crime history, the things that we don't know and what we learn, like the GPS, the cell information. I think it's going to be really, really something to watch. So, Letitia's out of her mind, Sherry. Or she's pretending to be out of her mind, one or the other. Yeah. Somebody said Chris Watts. Oh, you think Chris Watts was demonic? I think Chris Watts just good old fashioned psychopath. He doesn't have any feelings. Sheila, welcome. I am great. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Black Rose, hi. So the point, again, I just kind of want to, be clear, because we kind of rambled today a little bit. Yes, Miss K, torture, overkill. How does a grown woman hate one little boy so clearly? It's evil. It's evil. There's really no other way to describe it, really. Hey, Nancy Drew, how are you doing? Jewels and gems. Too bad we won't get to see the trial. Didn't the judge say no cameras? Sherry, the judge, i.e., I think it's Idaho, because we're seeing the same kind of thing with Chad Daybell, Judge Boyce. I think Idaho is trying to figure out how to manage, this camera issue. In Florida, if there's a trial, there's cameras. They have sunshine laws. It's just wide open. They follow, this whole constitutional, everything should be out in the open, and that's what it's going to be. I think Idaho traditionally has been one of the states that's been very comfortable trying to keep things off the internet, not be wide open. And so it was Judge Boyce who originally had said no cameras with Lori Vallow, no cameras or anything like that, but then allowed it for sentencing. And I was struck by the placement of the cameras for Lori Vallow for the sentencing was controlled by Boyce. It was their channel. And notice that it was set in a way with crappy resolution, like 1980 video, right? Terrible resolution. And you couldn't really see the details. Like you couldn't see a change in facial expression or anything like that. But definitely it was more interesting than pictures, because you could see the movement, in the courtroom. And that was more interesting. But it looks like to me, Idaho, both cases, looks like to me that they're going to do the same thing with Chad Daybell. And I mean, they're doing it now. They had a hearing the other day where John Pryor, speaking of honeys, John Pryor got his little honey slap, didn't he? He had to have him a little spanking by Judge Boyce, which was quite enjoyable to watch. But both that courtroom camera, I think, will be managed like Judge. And I think that maybe Idaho, the judges got together and said, why don't we give this a try? Because the rest of the world is allowing cameras in. They're allowing court TV to come in. And here we are looking, like a bunch of yahoos. And so maybe we're in the wrong. Maybe constitutionally people are entitled to be able to see a public trial, public hearing. It does protect the integrity of the process. People are much less likely to get up to funny business when it's being broadcast to the world, right? So yeah, I think we will. To long answer, Sherry. We're going to see the trial. The cameras will be connected through the YouTube channel that belongs to Judge Boyce, and he has control. His people, I would assume he probably hired professional videographers or IT people to control the feed and to keep it secure. And then if anything happens in the courtroom, he'll be able to just cut it off immediately. So it does, so the craziness doesn't get broadcast out to the world. And I really think it's a great middle ground. So I applaud Judge and I applaud Judge Boyce and Idaho. And I really like, here's another part of it that I really like. I really like that they're taking out the, what do I want to say? The capitalistic endeavor, that they're kind of removing that middleman, people making a lot of money off of the misfortune, of others. So I like that part of it. So I don't really have, obviously I have a YouTube channel. I wish that we were getting the up close, facial reactions and stuff. But they're not going to do that in Idaho. And so if this is what their offer is to try to make everybody happy, I'm good with it. What about y'all? How do y'all feel about the let's call it the Judge Boyce camera solution, where you don't really see the details, but you can see the big picture and you can hear everything that's going on? Are y'all happy with that? If you like it, put a 1. If you think it's useless, that you'd rather just listen to the audio, put a 2. Let's see what everybody thinks. I know we all want the beautiful, perfect, high definition. Hey, Martian Planet Art, how are you doing? Something about Dylan Rounds. Not case related. Missing from Las Vegas. Vehicle was located at the airport. That's not Dylan Rounds. That's somebody named Ryan. Hold on. Ryan Cook. Okay. I'll just read the whole thing out. Here's Ryan Cook. Las Vegas police are asking for the public's help in locating a missing male, Ryan Cook, who was last seen on January 15th, 2024. Ryan's vehicle was located at Las Vegas Airport. Ryan never made his scheduled flight. His whereabouts are unknown. If anyone has any information about this missing person, please contact the Las Vegas Metro Police, and that phone number is 702-828-3111. Ryan Cook is 5'7", 180 pounds, and he has a tattoo down his neck that says established 1981. And then he has a rose tattooed on his right hand. I'll make a visual and put it up on my community tab. His name is Ryan Cook. All right. I want the live feed. I like to see facial expression. I do too, Miss Kay. And see reactions and responses in the moment. Yep, I do too. Martian Planet, be careful. We got a lot of water in Houston, Texas, don't we? So it has rained so much, y'all. It's like we're floating on a boat here. It's crazy. Hey, Elizabeth Ross, welcome. No, it was not Dylan Rounds. It's a different person. I don't know why they started their posts like that. They say not case related, and then it goes on to say Dylan Rounds. Why would they say that? Oh, I see why. Okay. Because they're posting on a thread where people are talking about Dylan Rounds. That's why they said not case related. So missing since January 15th. So, 5 weeks. This Ryan Cook has been missing. Sad. Very sad. Um, I like the 1980s video because it showed the demons and the bad people. Martian, that video that I did of Lori Vallow, was that freaky? No one else looked demonic, just Lori. It's kind of scary. It's kind of like the voice box, right? All right. So that's where I stand with Kohberger, specifically to Bethany Funk. I am skeptical, along with so many other people, that what Bethany said was the truth, but I don't think that her mistruth, I don't think that it was because of guilt, not by a long shot. I want to say this loud and clear right now. And I know look, I'm skeptical of the whole Brian Kohberger thing. I've got questions. I do, but it's hard for me to believe that a young woman, Bethany specifically, because I think Dylan is a completely different situation, but I think it is very difficult. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that a young woman who had never had any trouble with the law, she wasn't really a part of dangerous behavior. Very hard for me to believe that in a matter of a month or so, that she goes from being a studious, straight A, accountable to mom and dad all the time, straight A student, goes off to college and becomes a mass murderer. No, no, that's not the way human beings operate. That is not the way we work. So there's a big problem with that. Have you guys seen the, I said I wasn't going to bring this up because it's kind of, yeah, maybe I shouldn't. I'll tell you another person that I remain highly skeptical of, and a lot of people get mad at me about it. They think I'm in the wrong about this, and I probably am, but I think that Joe Vidot, I really think that there should have been more interest in him. It, there was something crazy with him. What do you guys think? That his portrayal of his interactions there was just sort of like, oh shucks, I just went to go get me a little pasta, and those wild and crazy kids, they just make me laugh. They're just so funny and fun, and I don't know any of them because I'm at church praying every day. But it's fun to just watch them be all silly, right? That's the way he talked when he was doing his lives. That is not what I saw. If you watch body language on that grub truck video, that's not what you see. You see a guy. Let me not take it from Joe Vidot's point of view, but all the kids. Why do they all seem to know him? Every one of them, all the guys, not the girls, but the guys, all those fraternity guys seemed really chummy. They kind of went out of their way to greet him. And this story that he had simply did not match what we saw in terms of the physical interactions between the various people. And you got Maddie pointing at him and, basically calling him out. Does that sound like a guy that's older and detached from the group, and he doesn't know them, they don't know him? Or yeah, I said that right. He doesn't know them, they don't know him. Um, Maddie seemed to know him and didn't seem to like him. So he seemed to hate girls. He didn't know how. He just gives me bad vibes. And speaking of bad vibes, there's a couple of points. I had a video a long time ago that showed it. Kaylee was very wary of him, really wary. She was on her phone and she kept looking up, like watching him, like she was trying to hide that she was watching him. He made people uncomfortable. He made those girls uncomfortable. There's something going on with Joe Vidot. I looked at the hug Kaylee got at the grub truck, and I don't see Kaylee reacting in any way to the other girls. I think I don't remember if it's as they're walking up or when the one that hugs her, if it's when she walks away. Just look before and after. She does kind of look like she's looking at them, and they kind of giggle and look at her and walk by. Joe came across like he was just generalizing, so narration was nothing going on here. Yeah, it was an aw shucks kind of, nothing to see here, move along. And well, that's another point, Elizabeth Ross. A lot of people felt very uncomfortable that these girls had experienced a really violent encounter that resulted in their death. And he's so judgmental about them being drunk. Why is a grown man basically making fun of two young girls that were killed? Not young girls, young women. They're not girls. It was his demeanor's off. It's strange. It's off. If they were drunk and maybe annoyed me on camera, I would at least be like, it is terrible what happened to them. Joke. Let's see. I thought everyone in the grub truck video was cleared. Sherry, thank you for saying that. Everybody listen. The cops came out about 2 days after and said everybody's cleared. So yes, the cops say no people of interest from the grub truck video. But family members have openly said they cleared people too early, too fast, that they cleared people with very strange, no accountability for alibi, not verifying alibis. So, but the cops have said, I want to be very legal here, the cops have said they've all been cleared. And that's why I said, before I said Joe Vidot, I said, this isn't a popular opinion I have. I have a bad feeling about I have a bad feeling. And I think when you look at the grub truck video, it feels ominous. Now, maybe it feels ominous because we know what happens, right? And that is a filter that you can't get away from. But there's something curious about those boys, the fraternity boys. There's something incredibly strange about their behavior, how Joe Vidot is really, really focused in on Kaylee and Maddie from the moment they walk up. From the very minute they walk up, Joe Vidot is keeping their eyes on them, his eyes on them, and he pretty much keeps his shoulders squared up to whatever direction they are. So he's looking this way. When they walk by and they're behind him, now he magically turns around to look the other direction. But he wants to tell us it was just, oh, shucks, nothing to see here. Just laughing at the drunk girls. There were plenty of drunk girls there. What was so interesting about Kaylee and Maddie? A lot of popular pretty girls can be mean to certain guys. Also, two neighbors were acting weird. Reagan, I remember Reagan. When the ginger, kind of like reddish brown hair, living it, and wasn't he was he a criminology graduate student, right? Long-haired guy that said he walked past the house when he went to work. Yep. Sleuthing Squadron Television. Welcome. It's us. Yeah. Oh, maybe it was a law student. Yeah. He was a graduate student. Yeah, I don't remember now. It's been a long time. Why was Joe? And he has a new baby at home, and he's got church in the morning. These are questions I have, Royal Flush. I'm with you. I got the questions. But kohberger appears to be the answer. And that's what the cops are giving us is kohberger. So I think that True Crime Circus, I think Drip Drop did a good job of definitely casting doubt on the car. It's a mess. The case is a mess. All right. Well, we've done 1 hour and 10 minutes. Okay. Again, please have forgiveness that some of my opinions may not match with yours. I'm not trying to say on any level that Bethany or Dylan are guilty or innocent. I'm making no statement on guilt or innocent. What I'm saying is it is entirely possible that they lied, but the lie has zero to do with innocence or guilt. The lie could have been simply to maintain their reputation with their family first, with their parents, not wanting to disappoint the mom and dad and whatnot. So trying to maintain their reputation with family members. And then, once you get into a lie, and then it's very hard to extricate yourself from that, especially in a situation where 4 of your friends have been murdered. And in the wild speculation part of this, the crazy conspiratorial part of this, what if Bethany did go to a party or go to a bar and she did, pick up some good looking guy and go home with him or whatever, spent the night with him. And then he does bring her back at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning and the door is standing wide open and she gets out, goes inside. The guy drives away and she's confronted with the death of her 4 friends. And that is why things were so dramatically delayed in calling 911. It's a story that could absolutely be true. It's not crazy off the cuff. Absolutely could be realistic. Even though she would lie to save her reputation to her parents, the lie would not be one that would implicate her in guilt or innocence of these horrible murders. And the wild speculation part is, what if the guy was Brian Kohberger? Maybe that's why Brian Kohberger wants to talk to Bethany face to face. So it's very curious. This trial is going to be wild, because at the same time that I can see these kind of speculative possibilities, there's things the cops have done that look really uncomfortable that I would feel afraid of if it was me or my family members that were being targeted. But here's something you can't get away from, Pam Frenchman. How are you? Here's something you can't get away from. You can't get away from the fact that when the cops went in to arrest him, what's he doing? Is he sitting there grooming his little dog? Is he sitting there reading the Bible? Is he sitting there making donations to his favorite philanthropy? No, he's dividing up anything with his DNA. He's taking it and putting it into a baggie that he has taken some of it and thrown it away in the neighbor's trash. Well, are those the actions of an innocent person? And then those people that believe he's innocent will come right back at me and say, oh, whoa, wait a minute, Jules. So they claim that's what he was doing. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, surely the body cam will show what he was doing. And then we find out not a single body cam was worn by the cops. In the year 2023, you're going to tell me that Pennsylvania State Police don't wear body cams? It's very difficult for me to believe. You know what I mean? So it's a hell of a case, matched only by the Adelson clan, and we'll see where we go with that, right? So I really appreciate all of you so much for being here. Thank you so much, and we'll come back again and talk. Oh, we got Chad Daybell coming up. We got Lori Vallow coming up. We got Donna Adelson trials. They're going to go to trial probably March or April is what they're hoping for, because she is not going to waive speedy trial. She wants to get in and out as fast as she can. So true crime community's gone off the hook. All right. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.